I am going to die. I was partying, I was living these lives that my behavior was getting more and more risky at 18. And, like my family was starting to get concerned. And so it was like I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like I need a change. And so I had this really beautiful encounter and I changed. I had a heart transformation at 18.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Journey to Solutions podcast, where we interview people from all walks of life who overcome the impossible. Their stories shine light on one simple truth, that no matter your past, no matter your pain, with the power of God, anything is possible. And today we have a very special guest. She is one of the most genuine, humblest, kindest, funniest, realest person that I know. She is the co-owner or owner of Laguna Shores? Co-owner of Laguna Shores Treatment, which is an amazing treatment center with amazing people, and they truly care about helping people. Highly recommend. And her goal in life is to help out 1 billion people. That's a lot of people. And she is the right person for that because I've seen her change so many people's lives, go out of her way, do more because she wants to become more. And she also is the founder of Change the Chained. Change. God, I can't say that. Chains to Changed.
There you go.
I got it, right?
Yeah.
Which is a free sober community to join.
Yeah.
Free sober community to join online because I know not everybody, has the meetings around them. Not everybody has the, maybe the strength to walk into a meeting that first day. Sometimes it could be scary. Sometimes you have a bad experience. Sometimes you don't even know what's available. And this place right here is a safe space to get a taste of what sobriety looks like and that fellowship to give you a chance to be clean and sober and truly live your God-given purpose. And so I want to introduce Kat Sorensen.
Yeah. Wow. That was amazing.
Did you get it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should I need your script. That was beautiful.
What I'll do is I'm gonna make a little clip for you and then I'll shoot it to you.
Perfect. I would love that. Yeah.
But yeah, I just
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I really do respect everything that you do. You really stay true to who you are no matter where you go.
Yeah, you too.
And
that's why I love working with you. Yeah. You are the same person here as when we shut those cameras off, right? And I think that's why we vibe so well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You really are about the people and you're people-centered. And, I think in a world where you're the type of person that you're here for the sick, you're here for the broken, the hopeless, and you're the best example or mentor or person to bring light into people's lives. Because you really do meet people where they're at and you just love them to death. And you just know how to break the ice. You know how to approach them first. And people need that, especially at such a vulnerable place. The Bible says, right, we're not here to heal the healed, right? All right, you're good. You don't need help. That's fine. That's okay. I don't need to fit in this place. I'm here for these people. Yeah. And so thank you for being who you are and being that light for so many people.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. 10 years ago, I wasn't. That's the beautiful thing is that our past does not have to define us and, can really be the fuel for your purpose. Being able to turn your pain into purpose is something that I'm just every day so grateful for. The things I was so ashamed of, the things I really truly believed I was going to be a slave to a life of just depression and misery and sadness and, but God, right? God can change everything in an instant if you let him.
No, and I love that. And, it's so true, right? How God is like the ultimate problem solver. Mm-hmm. God can turn anything evil into good. He can turn any pain and give it purpose. And something I want to ask you, you're doing all these amazing things now, and you're just an incredible person. And you have, 10 years sober?
I will have 10 in November, so 9 and 3/4.
Okay, so
No
solid
fronts.
9 for some people,
No fronts.
right?
Yeah.
But that's amazing. So you're going into your 10th year. You own a couple treatment centers. You're helping a lot of people. You're really connecting the community, from churches to AA, and to just helping people. What I want to know is, a lot of people might be watching this like, yeah, that's amazing. She did that, but I don't have what she has, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to do is, I want you to kind of run us through, like, who were you before all this? Who was Kat? Let's see your story. I want people to be able to find themselves in your story, to see that, like, so they can find the blueprint through your story of how to overcome anything.
Yeah. And I can really appreciate the fact of looking at somebody's outside and being like, man, it must be nice, and thinking like, that's not available to me. I was actually just talking to my coach about this, because my personal training coach, because he drives a Lambo and came from nothing and works incredibly hard. He owns a gym, owns a supplement shop, does day trading, like, has worked incredibly hard to get to where he is. And sometimes if a kid hits him up, or if he's like driving and a kid's like, obsessed with his car, they're like, can I get a ride? And he's like, always for the kids.
Wow.
And because it shows them, he's like, think about, how cool it is to actually be like, wow, this is attainable. You're sitting in the car with somebody and then it doesn't seem so far off, right? Like, to be, when he starts telling a story to these kids and he's just a normal dude. And that's really kind of how I want to, present myself, as like, if it can happen for me, it can happen for anyone, right? I didn't do anything crazy. 10 years ago, I was at a place where I was so desperately broken and sad that suicide seemed like, honestly, the easiest way. Thankfully, I didn't have the courage to do it. And I had always had building blocks of somebody who was successful. I, went to college. I grew up in a really amazing home. I really had the foundation for what seemed like could be a successful person. But on the inside, I was just really battling with this consistent thought of, you're never enough. If I got something good, or if I accomplished something big, it was like, this isn't going to stay. This isn't real. Like, you're not worthy of this.
Why do you think you felt like that? Like, not good enough? Naturally?
I think that is a mixture of, coming from a household where we had pretty high standards of excellence. Both of my parents came from military homes. And, education is incredibly important to both of them. I think that it was just a message that, for whatever reason, as a little girl, I didn't feel a part of. And I do believe a lot of that does come from being an alcoholic, right? Like, from the very beginning, being restless, irritable, and discontent, I feel like was my preset, right? I'm also a deeply sensitive human. And, when I came out of my mom's womb, like, I'm a raw nerve. I feel everything. I want to talk about everything. And so it's no surprise that when I had the ability to numb out or avoid the feelings of pain, that alcohol, when presented itself at 13, was, a very realistic solution for me.
Did you feel like, so when I'm trying to picture you like a middle school Kat, like, so like, what type of girl were you? Were you like popular? Did you like protect people pleaser? Like, I'm cool with everybody kind of? Like, I know to get along with everybody.
Yeah. Big time.
Okay.
Big time. Like, because I was in like gifted and talented programs. So like advanced placement. And then I was also like a jock, and I loved to, I was, I've always been pretty gifted athletically. And then, like tried to fit in with the popular girls, but never really felt quite accepted. So, it does become a people pleasing thing where you're like on the outside and you don't really have to show anyone who you are, because you're just, like keeping everyone at an arm's length. And that really did me quite, it was super helpful, in alcoholism and addiction, because I can be whoever I needed to be to get what I needed to get. And I could present whatever way I needed in order for people to just think that I'm okay. Because the last thing I need to know or want you to know is what's really going on the inside. So I don't really actually know like how or why this message of never being good enough, came about. Because I did have great parents, and I think that we can all come from, no matter how amazing your parents are. I've met some incredible humans that have come from the worst, like growing up, the most terrible paths. And I've met some really shitty humans who have come from incredible parents, right? I think that that's like a part of it. I think the bigger piece is, your environment, the people that you choose to surround yourself with, your peers. Like, do you have any mentors when you're growing up? Or who is your circle of influence, right? I spent a lot of time alone. I just remember finding solace being alone, and then also with animals. Animals have always been a major source of comfort for me. And my heart is for animals. So I felt, really comfortable, being on the outside, oddly. Like, it was weird to be accepted, or even as, a 40-year-old woman, it can still be kind of weird. I don't know if you can relate to that.
So you still feel that at times?
Sometimes it's like last night. So every Wednesday night, and I've been doing this for about 5 years, I have a meeting at my house.
Yeah,
You've been.
I've been there, yeah.
Gosh, it's just like the coolest, the biggest blessing ever. But I'm like sitting and I'm looking at my living room full of people, and like it's a community of people that truly know me, right? And I just like had this incredible like just like feeling of like almost disbelief. Like, this is insane. Like, these people are people that I love deeply, and I know love me. And I just felt this like overwhelming sense of like peace and joy, but also like, wow, like how did this happen? Whereas I believe that I've met people who have been in families where that's very normal. Like you walk in and you just feel at peace. Everyone's excited to see you, your sisters and your brothers.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
Little jokes and this
totally.
and that, laughing pictures.
Yes. It's so new and novel to me still. And it's like, there is a piece that's like, wow, is this going to actually last? Like, is this real? But, I'm far enough along in my recovery where I can like identify when those voices, they're just less and less, right? And those feelings and voices come, and you can't do a lot about the first thought, but do I just like meditate and just like, dissect them like I used to, or I'm just like, okay, go away. Like, this is the truth. The truth is that I am loved. The truth is that I am somebody who is worth loving and worthy of loving. And I've built a life that I no longer want to escape. And I have these relationships of depth and weight, not because of the past 10 years of being abstinent, but that I've actually shown up to meetings, that I create a safe place where people can come, that, I have been so vulnerable with that group of people about what's going on in my heart. And none of them have shunned me. At the end, they hug me. We hug each other. We're brothers and sisters in that group, right? So it's just such a beautiful thing to see. But I also believe that, recovery is a process of unlearning. And I've spent so many years lying to myself or trying to find, who I am. Like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. No, I'm an entrepreneur. No, and the first and most important fact is that I'm a daughter of a king. And I wear this necklace to always remember it's a crown, that I belong to Christ first, that I am his daughter and I am royalty. And that once I identify and know that that is first and foremost, the most important thing about me is that I belong to him, everything else is like, oh yeah, you know?
And why does it do that? Like someone's like, okay, what does she mean by that?
Yeah.
Like,
so, I spent a really long time trying to find out, where do I belong? Right? Like,
that's what we're hearing, right? So you grow up, I don't feel enough. You're kind of this chameleon.
Yes.
You get along with everybody.
Right.
But sometimes getting along with everybody means really nobody really gets to know you.
Totally.
Because you're playing these characters.
Yeah.
And so you're finding community, it sounds like now, in recovery.
Yeah.
Right? But now even in recovery, am I the bodybuilder? Am I the entrepreneur? Am I the treatment center owner?
Yeah.
Am I the speaker? Again, falling into that same pattern.
Right.
So then now you bring in this thing, well, when I remember I'm, the son of a king or the daughter of a king, right?
Yeah.
Christ. So I'm hearing that. So let's bring it back to that.
Yeah. So, what happened was I did not grow up in a religious home. And, when I start to talk about Jesus or God, people recoil. And I totally understand that. So it's not about religion to me, though. Like, I've had deep encounters with Jesus.
When was your first time having an encounter with him?
When I was 18, I was introduced to the gospel through it was a guy that I worked with, and he told me, all of the partying and the things that you're doing to try to get accepted, like, he saw right through it. He's like, Jesus, like, doesn't care about any of that. He loves you just the way that you are. Like, he died on the cross for you, and all he wants is a relationship with you. And I was literally just stopped in my tracks.
Why do you think so? Because some people may hear that and it goes out one or the other. Why do you think for you?
And you know what? I think that I had been to church before. I'd been to Easter services. I think that it had all fallen on deaf ears because I wasn't ready. Like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? And I was striving. I was about to go to college. I was like, I am going to die. I was partying. I was living these lives. My behavior was getting more and more risky at 18. And, my family was starting to get concerned. And so it was like I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I need a change. And so I had this really beautiful encounter, and I changed. I had a heart transformation at 18. And then I ended up actually marrying that man who brought me to Jesus when I was 20 years old. And I don't want to discount the fact that I had, a deep encounter with Jesus and, lived a really beautiful life. But, I do believe that the enemy goes around like a prowling lion, and he's just waiting to pick us off. And if we aren't walking in obedience, and if we aren't walking in a place where we are just armoring up every day, like, thieves don't break in to empty houses, right? There's a reason that the enemy comes after us so hard. Those of you that are, feeling under attack, or you're constantly up against temptation, or things are, not quite, like, all of a sudden you get in a really beautiful, healthy relationship, and then exes pop up out of nowhere, right? Like,
all of a sudden.
Yeah, like little, foxes from the field. Like, they're all of this is biblical. All of this is spiritual. I truly believe we're here, having a human experience, but we're spiritual beings first and foremost.
Yeah, I remember my mentor taught me that too. Like, he's like, the devil doesn't, it's not like some scary looking thing. It actually looks sexy. It smells good.
Right.
It sounds good. It tastes good. He's like, it's very sneaky. It's like, you don't realize, like, it's when your life gets really good, like, the enemy knows how to use what's good too,
Totally.
to get you, whether, like you said, whether you're finally in love, yes, now your ex hit you up, or you're making a lot of money. Hey, what can you do with that money?
Right.
Oh, hey, you're an entrepreneur. Hey, guess what? You can take time off whenever you want. Or, wow, I'm secure now for the first time. Now you have opportunities.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that you said that. It's very sneaky, and you got to be always armored up.
Yeah.
Because like Les Brown says, right, with every level, there's a new devil.
Totally.
And so for you, what I'm hearing, right, so this person brings you to Christ, right? You were ready, because that's why it spoke to you, right? Because we're ready when we're ready. Marrying this person, you have a season where now you're with Christ. You have that first encounter. Now, at that point, did that get you sober right there? Was it that time?
Yeah, actually, I was abstinent. So, okay. I just cross-addicted because I didn't really treat what was the underlying issue of why I was drinking and using so much. Like, I believed, like, I needed to be in relationship with God, right? And I do think that's a part of it. But there are underlying root causes that led me to numb out and to run and, to drink to oblivion at 13 years old. Like, you cannot just tell me, oh, if you have a relationship with Christ, it's going to go away. That wasn't my story, right? There might be people that did that.
Right.
But I had to really look at some root causes that I wasn't quite ready to understand. And so I just said, okay, I'm good. Like, I just have a relationship with God now. Those were just like wild hairs. I'm going to move on.
And I'm sure you believe that at that point, right? Again,
100%.
it was very innocent. Like, yes, I'm cured.
Yes.
Because you have this, and right. And in your mind, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And every 18, 19, even 17-year-old, I feel like experiments with drugs and alcohol. Yeah. So it felt normal, even though in the back of my mind, I knew I did not drink like my fellows. Like, I knew, they would, like,
How much would you drink a day? Like, when the
sometimes it was just like, if I had access to alcohol, there was no off switch. Okay. Every single one of my friends knew it. Yeah. And I'm wild. Like, I am, you will find me, blocks away. Like, nobody knows, right? And all my friends know that in high school. Like, I'm the wild child.
So would you be the one that was like, hey, I know it's 7 a.m. You down to go to the beach right now? Right. I got a bottle of Jack Daniels.
In Colorado.
Right? Oh, God.
Yeah. I had to, the mountains. I had to be a little bit more disciplined than that, and hide it because, I had these strict boundaries with varsity sports.
Okay.
And I had to do a lot of things in secrecy, which we're very good at.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. So it was more so like what I was doing in the dark that nobody saw. And I knew, that in my heart of hearts, I felt relief when I, found Christ, but then I also wasn't doing the other work, which I think is therapy. I think for me now, the steps of understanding, like, okay, let's like unpack that a little bit, because that's not very normal behavior at 13 or 12, to want to do the things that you're doing and then to seek so much relief in, substances. Like, that's, and then to live this double life. And of course, like, I'm 40 now, right? So all of this is 2020 hindsight. But I knew that, the enemy came for me. Like, alcoholism is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it is sneaky. And it came in the form of something very innocent of, hey, I was at a work event after I graduated. I hadn't been drinking, and I was presented with the opportunity to drink with my colleagues, and I was out of town.
How many years were you abstinent?
Probably 2 to 3 at this point. Okay. I had like a few slip-ups in college where I was, would just black out, and my husband would have to come get me. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. And he's like, dude, you can't drink. And I'm just like, okay. I just totally brushed it off. I really didn't believe that was like an issue. Or I wasn't ready to face it. Right. And so when I graduated and was incredibly, dedicated into school, and then also like this Christian woman, I still felt like an imposter. I was going to a huge party school, CU Boulder. All college schools are party schools, right? Let's be real. But I was like this Christian woman. I was a baby Christian, and like was also up against this like fatal progressive disease of alcoholism that I believe is generational. My parents don't struggle with it, but it does go on both of their sides. And so I'm like up against this thing that I really just think like, oh no, I just like accepted Jesus, I'm good. And when I'm presented with the opportunity to drink, I also have a really quick forgetter, right? And I have this ability to rationalize and justify and like, well, we're out of town, and like, is it really going to harm anyone? Everyone else is drinking. And I just picked up right where I left off. And I drank that weekend with my colleagues. We had so much fun. I was the life of the party, picked right back up where I was. I did not need to drink nearly as much as I used to. My tolerance is so much lower. I blacked out. We did it again. We laughed. We made jokes, memories. Immediately, I feel a part of, right? And I was like, wow, that was great. Like, I can actually, maybe I could do this, right? I just need to like keep them separate. and also a familiar feeling. I'm very good at that.
Would you say that, because, I'm hearing this word pop up a lot, right? I feel a part of.
Yeah.
Right. Again, that connection, that camaraderie. Would you say in those like 3 years that you didn't really feel that part of, like with the Christian community, with people, you kind of still feel like it just wasn't as strong as that? Like, whoa, like I was a part of, that was fun versus those 3 years.
I think I didn't have the tools to combat the imposter syndrome that I felt. I wanted desperately, but like I knew, like my husband came from an incredibly spiritual home that was Christ-led, and his faith was so strong that I was like kind of borrowing his, right? So I would just feel like he and I would go to church and have different experiences, So I think that I didn't really feel a part of, but I was just like, you know what, just play the part. Like, it's new. I would just like tell myself that. I didn't also like share it with anyone either. And that's where I think we have a duty to ourselves when you start to have these feelings and these secrets, like you have to have somebody that you can talk to.
Yeah. Why do you think you didn't share it with him? Did you feel like you didn't have permission to because you weren't really showed that? Or were you afraid if I do share this and maybe they, have some negative
Totally
reaction?
like, well, what if I share this and there is truth to it? Like what if I say I don't feel like I belong here and then they actually substantiate that? And like, I was like, I think I was just terrified of, I was freaking 20 years old, right? So we don't really have that many coping tools then. But I do believe that there was a part of me that was like, if I share it, it will be true.
And if it's true, what does that mean? That means, all right, so bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
This whole life is a sham, and I've never really felt the way that he loved me. I didn't really know how to accept because I'd never been loved that way. And so I was just like, you know what, just fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Like just, walk through it. It'll go away. And it didn't. And I just kept these secrets in the dark of feeling not a part of, inadequate, wanting to drink. And then I started to drink on the side. And then I just lit my allergy on fire. And then my appetite for alcohol just became insatiable to the point where I was hiding it, to the point where I would be asking to go on work trips. I was, the life of the party. So they loved bringing me on all the work trips. And it just became, again, this life that, it was like these two lives that I had. And it was a time, just like anybody, when you start off with either, a habit or something that that you shouldn't be doing, it's like manageable, right? At first, it's like you flirt with it and then it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to like stick my toe in. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I am knee deep in this thing. And then it's like still manageable. And then it gets to the point where it's like, this is quicksand. I don't know how to undo any of this.
How fast did it take to get that bad? So you had 3 years, like you said, basically abstinent. Now you have that thing with your colleagues. You had a great week and you're a part of, and then the allergy's back.
Yeah.
And it was just 10 times even stronger. How fast or how long did it take for it to progress to where your life was becoming now unmanageable?
I would say probably 6 months because I still had to like stick in with some boundaries of like our home life. And then I would just like start doing really weird things like, oh, honey, like let's get some wine tonight. And he would just be like, what? Excuse me, like, are you crazy? That would be like me, like, hey, let's get a bag of heroin. Like, what do you mean? No, you cannot. Like, I just wasn't ready to. I was just trying to like marry the two lives together, like gently.
Was he, since he was a normie, let's just say, did you find it kind of, when we were with normies, it's kind of sometimes easy to kind of, let's have a drink. Like, no, trust me. Like, it's not going to be like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. He saw right through me. I mean, he knew.
So when you would bring that up.
He knew before I did. Yeah.
He basically called you out.
Yeah. And he actually, started to request that I go to AA meetings. And
is it the first time you heard of AA?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is like I didn't even remember that until like 5 years ago. Like I'm 9.5 years sober, and we can black out. Do you ever have that?
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, I mean, in sobriety too. I'm like, wait, what happened? Like
I've had things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I did date someone that year, huh?
Right.
I forgot about them.
Right.
Like,
it's sobriety,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I have sober blackouts all the time. I mean, I think that's like a survival mechanism that we have.
Sure.
And a coping skill. But yeah, things just progressively got worse. I one night was traveling, and the last thing I remember was being at the hotel lobby bar. And the next morning I woke up in another man's bed. And that's really when things...
And you're 20 at this point still?
I'm like 22.
Okay, 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's really when things escalated because I was like, what the heck? Like, I love my husband, like he's a great man. Like we said, I love you before we went to bed last night. I wasn't totally prepared for the consequences. And I was able to lie to myself for so long. Like, hey, he doesn't like, is it really harming him? Like, I'm just having a good time. Like all the rationalization.
Just to avoid the truth.
Yes. And because I was getting my needs met of needing to be part of, right? Like needing to feel okay in my own skin. And I'd never, from my earliest memories, I've never felt okay in my own skin. Like the way I feel right now is the best I felt in my own skin.
And did you know when you look back, I mean, now we can like put words to everything, right? As we tell our story, but like back then, did you know, like, I don't feel comfortable in my skin? Or were you kind of just like I know, like for me, I would always just be like, I was anxious. Now I know that I was always anxious.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know how to describe it. I was kind of just like, okay, don't look at them. Look this way. Go play over here. I'm not going to use the restroom because I was just avoiding everything.
Yeah.
Was kind of like my thing. And then I would look at some people like, okay, maybe I wear that shirt. Or okay, he likes that show. I was kind of just trying to find ways. And like you said, maybe it was like, oh, that was funny. Really?
Right.
And I felt comfortable in my skin that moment. Okay, I got to be funny. Or like, hey man, that was cool. Really?
Right. Yeah.
And that was kind of like the dose of like feeling comfortable in my skin. So when you look back at life, when you're saying, did you know how to kind of like describe it? Like I feel uncomfortable in my skin, or like how did you kind of process that?
I think I really relate to, being the people pleaser and just like grasping at whatever, like I'm incredibly codependent. So if somebody asks, what the temperature is in the room, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask you. Like, yes, right? Like, I'm very, thankfully I've been working on that for a really long time, but I just recognize it as just not feeling okay, and just being very, irritable and like restless and like just not, just like this weird. The only time I really felt like I was at peace is when I was with animals. And so I, as this like disease progressed and I, made the mistake of sleeping with another man, I did go home and told my husband.
Oh, you did? That day?
Yeah. I was devastated. I really, truly didn't want to hurt him. And I loved him, and, he was so hurt, and as he should have been. And we went to counseling, and, the like, he just kept saying, like, you have to stop drinking.
So even though you realize your drinking made you act out of character, like you said, right? You woke up to like, I can't believe I did it, but you did. You tell him you feel bad. Yeah. But you're still drinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't think that not drinking is not an option for me, right? Like that's my default setting.
Yeah.
I don't know this,
right? Because
I have done no work on the disease of alcoholism. I don't understand the allergy. I don't understand that I'm in full blown self-will and like under spiritual attack. I don't understand any of that.
Right, because right now you haven't been to a meeting, right? So no knowledge of the book, these words, the verbiage. You're just
I basically convinced myself that I made a mistake in getting married too young, and I just, need to party. And so it went on for like, me dragging this poor man through the mud for like another year, maybe 18 months. And we moved. I quit jobs, because I would like have these amazing nights, and then it would just be met with these mornings of incomprehensible demoralization of like, fuck, what did I do? And then like the guilt and the shame. And then, the resolution. This is it. I'm done. So much to the point where he and I are making a plan. We're going to counseling. He's like, okay, like quit your job. If you're really done, quit your job. Let's move. Let's, start over. Like, I'm going to give this one more shot. And he, we moved up to the mountains, and I took over an insurance agency, and I became like a owner of this insurance agency at a very young age. And I'm going to Rotary meetings, and I have a whole new community. We have a whole new church. We have, we're like isolated in like this really amazing mountain town. We've met some beautiful people, and one of my clients, throws a bag of cocaine down on my desk.
And at this point, are you still kind of dabbling with the drinking at this point?
No, I think I had like been pretty. I was white knuckling it though. I mean, and I was being watched like a hawk, and so I just didn't have an opportunity really. But yeah, the thing is with being an alcoholic is that it's a promise that I will drink again unless I treat my alcoholism with spiritual tools, one day at a time, right? But I wake up every day now, knowing what I know now. I have an alcoholic brain. And so the fact that I make it one more day without drinking is an absolute miracle. But it's my duty to arrest my disease using spiritual principles. And that means prayer, meditation, going to meetings, talking to other alcoholics, surrendering to God, not acting like a shitty person, acting in integrity, like doing things like even putting the shopping cart back, like not parking in the, electronic car part, like right. I have a whole set of rules that I have to follow just so, I can live in line with this life, because I know that my DNA, my preset is that I will drink again.
And it always starts with like little behaviors.
Yeah,
like you
totally.
Said, little things.
Yeah,
you do more, a little
100%. Yeah, I mean, just like an affair, starts with a like on Instagram, and then maybe a comment, and then a DM, and then
let's work out together.
Yeah,
we're just working out.
Right. And it always starts off innocent.
And then we go back to the. Okay, oh crap, I did it. Okay, well, hold on, let me try to figure out. But it wasn't like it was like this. Well, it wasn't my intention.
Right.
You know what? We make mistakes. It's okay. I'm not going to drink over it. And if it's scary, it's a slippery slope. I always say it's scary when you get away with it.
Yes.
Because then our brain, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
Right.
Like I remember when I got sober, I stood sober. First time AA, I stood sober.
Same.
And so I remember probably like 2 years sober, COVID, or like 3 years so COVID happened. And my ex-partner at the time was like, hey, let's go in the pool. I'm like, we can't. Why? It's locked. If I hop the fence, I'm going to relapse. She's like, I was so scared to break the rules, almost too much. I had to ease up, but it was to
big time.
But it was to the point. I was like, I can't do that no more. I was like, I've been living right. If I hop that fence, I'm living wrong.
Right.
And then I'm going to start drinking a bunch of cocaine.
Right.
Right. But I do understand, right? Obviously, we don't obsess too much, because even the Bible says those who are too wise will suffer. Yeah. Those who are too good will suffer. Like it's almost like relax.
Totally.
You're going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But be aware of, you start acting a little shady here and there, doing things. Yeah. We're a relapse before we even relapse, my sponsor would always say. So for you, you're talking about, right? So you see this bag of Coke now, you're at this new party, you've been pretty good because you've been watched, white knuckling it though. Yeah. What happens from there?
I mean, I have no spiritual defense. Like I do the Coke, and that just things escalated with that, then alcohol sounds real nice, and I'm at a bar, he's got to like come get me, and we're right back to where we are. And I just convince him that I need to go do whatever I need to do. And he finally grants me a divorce. And so now I am at a place where I don't have to really worry about, kind of keeping things in line, right? I don't have the varsity sport keeping me in line. I don't have the husband keeping me a little in line, right? I can just have pure lawlessness. And it really was a full-blown rebellion against God. I was very upset, like to the point where, self-pity of like, why didn't I, like, I don't understand why I am dealing with this. Like, God, I've given you my life. I got baptized. I married a preacher's son, for goodness sakes. Like, what the heck? What else do you want from me? But he wants everything from us, right? And he wants us to live an obedient lifestyle. And, I believe that I don't think that God wanted me to get a divorce. I really don't. I know that, Romans 8:28 says that, he'll use all things for good. And so the next roughly 6 years was, me rebelling, broken relationships, just lowering my standards faster that I could violate them, and doing all the things I said I would never do on a regular basis, right? To the point where I found myself, moving. I moved one more time from Colorado to Atlanta, and I spent a year in Atlanta, and I worked for a company where we had an open bar. I was, constantly entertaining clients, was flying from Atlanta to LA, Atlanta to Vegas, just blackout. I mean, literally the entire year was fuzzy, and it got me to my knees of like, fuck, I'm going to kill myself. Like it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And so, my bright idea is I'm going to move again. My brother finds an amazing woman in Southern California. They start having a family. And I thought, great idea. I'm going to go back into corporate America where things were a little bit more chill. And I'm going to be auntie and take my nieces and nephews to the beach. And, like my family is going to keep me sober. And I wrote myself a letter that day, when I was on the plane from Atlanta to LAX. And I really, truly believed I could have passed a lie detector that I was going to stay sober. I really believed I was coming out here to have a fresh start. I mean, I definitely got a fresh start, but I had to, on my own, learn that location means nothing. There you go. Or right. Wherever you go, there you'll follow. Yes. Yeah. And I made it one night, and I was unpacking my pod, and some really cute surfer boys walked by asking if I was new in the neighborhood. They invited me to their barbecue. I was drinking that night and was at the local bar that night, meeting the local drug dealer, because I have Bluetooth for drug dealers. Like they have Bluetooth for me, right? And I was off and running, and my brother got a front row seat, and he saw me sloppy. He saw me, just doing the things that a brother, my brother's never even seen weed, I don't think. Like my brother and I are very different. Totally different. Yeah. So in September of 2015, he's just like, hey, sis, you got to clean it up. Like, I don't want you around the kids. Like, this isn't working. And so I reached out to a woman who I knew from my gym, and she would always talk to me about sobriety. And like, she was just this beautiful human. And I would come in bragging about my 3-day benders and like, how I hadn't slept, since like the few days prior, and how I'm like, aren't you, like, I'm killing it. I'm still at my workout, Yeah. And she would just say like, if ever you want to talk about sobriety. And I was like, what? Why are you talking to me about that? Like, I'm killing it, but in my heart of hearts, like I knew that, the show was almost over. Like it stopped working. I was so isolated. I was to a point where I was drinking alone. I would wake up every day saying like, today is going to be different. And then by noon, I was like, I couldn't bear to get through the day. And so, when, thank goodness that woman broke her anonymity and told me.
Oh, she was in the rooms.
Yeah. Because I had no one else in my life to go to. When my brother was like, figure it out, she was the only person that came to my mind. The only person I knew that I could reach out to, who has met me with no judgment prior, and has been such this kind, beautiful, attractive woman that I felt comfortable reaching out and asking for help. And she met me that afternoon. And I was honest as I could be at day 0 and giving her an assessment of my situation, which, really was not talking a lot about drinking and drugs, but more about, how I felt and that I wanted to kill myself, but I didn't have the balls to do it, that I just had wrecked everything in my life worth living for, mostly relationships, that I was incredibly unfulfilled. I would wake up every day just feeling no purpose and like this again, like another day. And she just said, I have great news for you. I was like, okay. And she's like, I have felt exactly how you felt. Like,
was it the first time you've heard that
from
somebody? Like,
yes,
I feel just like you.
Yes. Wow. Because it was the first time I was honest, right? I had been in therapy for so long, but what we do is we come in and we focus on others, right? We focus on our family and all the bullshit. My dad didn't tell me I was pretty enough. Like my mom was, unavailable, like whatever the fuck we say to just make sure the focus is not on us. And I would be fully loaded too when I was in there. Maybe not always on alcohol, but, definitely Xanax, Adderall, whatever I needed to take that day to just get through. So you can't get results that way, And so it was the first time that I was fully honest with somebody. And she saw me and she said, like, the great news is I've been there and I'm 20 years recovered. She's like, the not so great news is that I did it with Alcoholics Anonymous.
You're about to join the coolest group of weird people that are amazing.
And I mean, how well did she know me? Because my immediate response was like, fuck no, I'm not doing it. Yeah. I was like, I have a job. Like, isn't that for homeless people? Right. Like I was so arrogant and naive and, just had this prejudice against 1, alcoholism, but 2, Alcoholics Anonymous, because my only experience was really, what you see in movies, like sitting around, a bunch of people just making sure they don't drink in a circle. And, like I didn't actually know that like that was like that there's more to the program than that. And so she just said, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And this is what I have to offer you. I was like, wow. So we pulled up our phones and I went to a meeting 6:30 a.m. the next day. I said, well, that's when I do my workouts. She's like, that's when you did your workouts. She's like, you put your recovery first. Everything else needs to follow. I was like, okay. How I had to do this for what? Like 2 weeks? Like, she's like, honey.
Take it one day at a time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. So I was like, I'll commit to 30 days. Okay. How about that? Even though it seemed like
30 years.
Yeah, right. Like a death sentence. Yeah. And, I went to that first meeting, and felt, and again, like I don't even recall going to the meeting when I was in my 20s. So it did feel like my first AA meeting, and I felt a sense of belonging. Right.
Now, what was it? Was it just like the people, hey, how's it going? Being nice to you, the kindness.
Yeah.
This is, and then was it that? And also hearing people's stories and being like, well, that's me. Huh.
I think it was one, just the energy in the environment was like light and happy. People were laughing when I came in, which looking back at it, I was kind of resentful. Like, what the fuck are you laughing at? My whole life is on fire right now. Most people do not come in on a winning streak. Right. And, they all seem like best friends, like they've known each other forever. But I felt they made me feel really comfortable. They said like, welcome. Like they remembered my name. They said, keep coming back. They got my phone number. people checked up on me later that day. When I went back the next morning, they all celebrated that I had my second day sober. You know, it was like this really cool thing that made me feel better. And I didn't really know why. It was just like, wow, I actually like feel good, like better than when I went in there. And so, you know, I started to attend a little bit more regularly. I was adding in night meetings, and, you know, I didn't understand that the meetings aren't the program, that like the program is actually the steps that are on the wall, and that you meet with somebody privately, like to do those, and that you come to meetings to share about your success and to talk about the hope, but that you won't actually change unless you do those things on the wall. At least that was my personal experience. And so I waited almost 6 months until I got a sponsor, because my life just got really good. Like I started to get sober. I started to have some results of, you know, feeling better, like most of us do, right? Like you take out drinking and drugs and your life will improve. There will be like a weird, awkward time of like coping and like, but problems should start to reduce, right? Like the lack of, you know, one night stands or DUIs or like that stuff will just naturally go away when you take drugs and alcohol out of your life. Right. But if you're like a real sicko like I am, and like a real alcoholic that's described in our book, like abstinence is not the solution for me, right? Like I have alcoholism, which is a deadly fatal disease that is treated by alcohol or spiritual principles. So alcohol doesn't cause alcoholism, right? It treats it. So if you take away my treatment, I'm left with me and my disease. And it gets weird. After, you know, you can only like ride the high of the fellowship for so long, where you start to get restless, irritable, and discontent. And then, you know, I use a relationship to get high, and he relapses, and I almost relapse with him because I'm so devastated and I have no coping mechanism and I have no tools to actually work through my first like broken heart in sobriety. Thankfully, I had such a massive ego and I didn't want to take a newcomer chip that rather than, you know, picking up a drink, I had smart feet. I went to a meeting. I was bawling my eyes out. These girls surrounded me and they were like, "Who is your sponsor?" And I was like, "I don't have one." And they're like, they just looked at me like, "Well, of course you're struggling, right?" And so I jump right into the steps, and they all give me the number of their sponsor, and I jump right into the steps with her, and I start experiencing some relief, and I start, you know, really getting down to the causes and the conditions, and some of it is not, you know, so easy to understand, like that sense of always needing to feel a part of, or why you never like belong. Those are things that I identified with, but I didn't really understand. But another really big aspect of the steps that was so healing for me was going and really righting the wrongs of my past. And going, you know, at 2 years sober, flying to Colorado and meeting my ex-husband eye to eye.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. How was that?
Nerve-wracking. It was awful. It was one of the hardest amends I ever had to make. Like when we make our amends list, you know, we have okay, these are the quick ones, like, you know, easy. The, you know, middle column is like like we'll do that. Like maybe 6 months, like let's just pray on it. And then there's like the fuck no, I never can face that person again. I was such a piece of shit. And he was like one of my only ones on that list. And when I was 2 years sober, my sponsor said it was time to start, you know, attacking those amends. And so I did fly he agreed to meet with me. He was remarried and has a kid. And I met him on his terms, on his turf. I flew to Colorado. I drove 2 hours to the mountains, met him eye to eye, and just told him how sorry I was and that I never, ever meant to hurt him and that I regretted my behavior and that I was there to do anything I could to right my wrongs, whether that was in a financial amends, material, whatever I could possibly do 10 years later now, right? Because we broke up when I was like 25. At this point, I'm like 33 because I got sober at 31. So I guess like 8 years later. And, he did, I would say like I called my sponsor on the way up because I'm terrified. I'm terrified of having, I think that's a big thing that, most alcoholics, like we can't face reality, right? Like we have so much guilt and shame and so little self-confidence. We have so little trust in God that like when we have to do the hard stuff, we run. At least that was my experience. And so like now this is like a very practical example of me having to right my wrongs, face my past, and do one of the hardest things I've ever had to do sober. And I was so uncomfortable and I wanted to turn around and I was like almost in tears and like, what if I still love him? What if he still loves me?
Okay, dude, I can't even imagine that plane ride.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Imagine the thoughts.
And sober, right?
Yeah, that's why.
Right? Like we can't even like, and going to the airport still to this day, like I used to love drinking at airports because you have a DD, right? And like, who knows like how long, 5 hours of just doing nothing, right?
You go to the bar when you get to the airport, you get in, you want, yes, I do. You meet some people.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. So, when I was able to meet him face to face, it was hard. To this day, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
But he listened to my amends and just told me that he was really hurt and that I did a lot of damage. And he, had some choice words for me, but was always a man of integrity and a man of upstanding character. So he did it in the most polite way possible. Not polite, but he said what he needed to say. And then he said, my wife and I have been praying for your sobriety. And that's all we want.
Wow. And how was that for you to hear him say that? How was that when walking away from that experience?
Yeah. I think it gave us both closure. It doesn't okay my past and it doesn't like undo what I did and that I really hurt a human that I cared deeply for. But I think it definitely, I noticed that I felt lighter. I noticed that I felt even taller, like, holy, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I did it sober and I did it with class and I did it with integrity. And, doing things like that have substantiated the fact that I am a daughter of the King, right? That I am somebody who lives in integrity and having to do the really hard things that most people would never be able to do. Most people run from things like that. Even just, there will probably be people watching and a name came up for them. They know that they need to go right their wrongs. And like, I believe that separates, the adults and the children, the real women and the little girls is, are you willing to do the hard thing? And I wouldn't have done that if I weren't sponsored by a woman who believed so wholeheartedly in the steps and that we do these very pragmatically, that it says we make amends eye to eye. That doesn't mean imagine if I just wrote him a letter, right? Like so many people do the pussy way out of just like, hey, here you go. Like, that's not fair. You need to give that person an opportunity to tell them how they feel about you.
Yeah, it's just respect,
Totally.
And especially because like we live in a world where you don't really see that, right? A lot of things go unsaid. A lot of things are just like hurt feelings that are just, this person did this, they did that, no apology. And so to be able to, I hurt you, so I'm willing to be uncomfortable in this situation. You can say whatever you want to me. You don't have to accept it. But I'm doing this out of respect for you and for myself. So, Because what is it? I think they say that miracle happens a lot through that step.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Making that amends. It's the hardest thing to do, some more than others. But like you said, it's such I think a spiritually healing thing for us to do.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that I dreamt of him. Like, I wouldn't have sexual or like romantic dreams of him, but you know, our subconscious, like he rented a lot of space in my head. Like, because I was I cared for him deeply and I hurt him deeply and he never did anything wrong to me. And so I noticed like I dreamt of him less. He wouldn't be like the first thought of that, like, when you wake up, like, that's why we have to do this work. Like, I can't go do God's work if I'm having all of that stuff weigh me down. I just can't. Right? Like, I have to empty myself out, clean up the wreckage of my past so that I can continue.
All right, Kat. So again, thank you too for just sharing everything with so people can now figure out like what you were struggling with, this feeling of not good enough, right? And you go through this journey of playing a chameleon, playing these characters, right? And you find a sense of peace when you drink, right? Because drinking is a way to solve the problem, but it's not the right way to solve the problem, right? And you said the right way is actually spirituality and stuff like that. And I think that's beautiful too. And I know for sure on the next episode when we have, after I ask you these final questions, I want to talk about straight just that.
Yeah.
People are going to know who you are.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the God thing just full blown because we're Jesus freaks here.
Yeah.
And so for these questions, what I want to ask is, what are 3 books that you would recommend someone to read that could completely change their life?
Yeah. So I think reading a book and applying a book needs to be differentiated here, right? Because the Bible to me is our blueprint. It's our user manual. I actually come with 2 user manuals though. Maybe a third down the road.
Right.
But the Bible tells me, how I need to live. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells me, how I need to act.
Yeah.
And things I need to do on a daily basis to make my alcoholism stay in remission. And then I have so many books. I really love Think and Grow Rich.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I just, I believe in creating a life that you no longer want to escape. For me, I don't earn a living, I earn a giving. And the more income, more impact.
Right.
I'm incredibly ambitious. I'm incredibly driven, but I do believe that, money is our currency and that you can help more people the more money you make.
Yeah. And
that, God sees what you do with a little and he'll bless you with more. If he can trust you to be a good steward with that. So, my whole purpose here is to help the addict and the alcoholic still suffering. I love helping God's children. I wake up every day and I have a acronym I use called HOPE, HOPE, help one person every day. And if I go to bed at night and I have a journal that I fill out that says, who did I help today? If I can at least put one name, then I've done my job.
See, that makes so much sense why you're such a giver. Like you're just ready to give.
Yeah.
It's almost like your intention. Like every day I'm looking to give.
Totally.
So when I find a way to give, like you're like, I'm in.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing to have. Pitbull said it. The secret to life isn't making more money, it's giving more money away.
Yes. Truly.
And there's a beauty in when you have someone that you can support, whether it's we don't have kids, but I see it with my team, to be able to put money in someone's pocket for their talent and to make them feel celebrated. Like, oh, when do you need to buy? Here you go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to make you wait.
Yeah.
How much do you want? Oh, I'll give you more.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. Because to me, that is more satisfying than buying something for myself.
Totally.
I have mostly everything I need. Like, I'm fine. What else is there to get?
Right.
And to give is, right, giving is living.
Totally.
So I love that.
I love it.
What is the worst piece of advice someone's ever given you?
In recovery or just in general?
In general.
Man, worst piece of advice. Follow your heart. right? Like our heart lies to us.
Yeah.
The Bible says like lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
I followed my heart almost to rehab. Like my heart got me in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like my heart and my feelings will lie to me because they want to protect me and they want to keep me alive, right? And like not there, my heart is not my friend. I have to really look at things through spiritual eyes and with discernment, and I have to pray, and I have a group of women that I run things by, and I'm like, what do you think about this? Because I'm not in charge of my life anymore. Things get real weird when I get in charge of my life. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten? It's a great question.
I would say probably people telling me that I need to like tone down who I am.
Oh, yeah.
I've been told that like you're too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anything that has to kind of do with my character kind of being toned down, because I thought for a long time that I had to. Oh, you have to be right because my perception of you is you got it together.
Yeah.
My perception of is you're the cool person or you're the wealthy person. So, I mean, if you have what I think you have, then you must be right.
Yeah.
And I think that is the worst piece of advice because I just worked for the wrong people, then made the wrong friends, started living for others instead of myself. And that just left me to a place of what, 6 years sobriety and depressed.
Yeah.
And that's why I took off. So I would say that's the worst thing. I think being yourself and allowing those who accept you for you is the key. But again, not being yourself as in like, I'm just going to have my defects of character and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to be a healed version of me, and whatever that looks like. That's who I'm going to stay true to.
Yeah.
And those who are for me will stay for me. And those who are not, I just got to let it go and just trust that God's removing people from my life because he's protecting me and not rejecting me.
Yep.
Yeah. What was one mindset shift that completely just changed the trajectory of your life? Again, you get sober.
Yeah.
Cool. That's step one, right? We know that. So you get sober, you work your steps, you work your program. You're not abstinent, you're in recovery. But then there's discovery, right? I think the purpose. What was one mindset shift that just dramatically gave you even more fulfillment after being in recovery?
I don't know if it's necessarily fulfillment, but that if I don't take a risk and go after my dreams, which was to work for myself and to create treatment centers, that I'm going to be a slave to someone else's dream. And I mean, that to me was like, man, I can always go back to corporate America. I just can, right? But I gotta try this first because I can't keep making someone else's dreams come true.
What helped you stay like faithful to that, right? You go from working for others, which comes with security, especially if you make good money working for others, right? That's the thing too. You're making good money too. What helps? What was like a tool that really helped you, like as you're stepping into entrepreneurship, to not give up, especially when it doesn't look like it's really working out?
I think honestly, having a partner helped. Because we just didn't feel so alone. I mean, we're definitely trauma bonded. Like, woo! Yeah. But I would also say I really, truly believe that I was living in my purpose. I still believe that. And it doesn't matter that the money, the risks, all those things are so like inconsequential compared to this incredible life that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm making a difference. Like I'm actually having an impact. And I mean, it's everyone's dream, I believe, to pair profit with purpose. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's working. It's working. It makes all of the ups and downs and like crazy late nights and mornings and, like all of the insecurity that comes with being an entrepreneur, it made it worth it. Because I truly believe that peace comes with stepping into your purpose. And when you are where you are supposed to be and you are aligned, all of the things that should bother you, that should be crazy, and your world seems like absolute chaos, God's like, no, this is where you're supposed to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. You're right. It's, if you're on your deathbed, like, what are some things you would regret?
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes knowing what it's like to have nothing and broken internally is a blessing, because then when you're going after something big, you're like, well, what's worst case scenario? I lose my car, I lose my home.
Yeah.
This is a fail. I have a bunch of debt. I've been through worse.
Yeah.
Or, it's not like they're going to kill you for having debt.
Right.
Make payments.
Right.
You don't have a house, you could find someone else's house to sleep at if you need to, right?
Yeah.
A car, I'm sure somebody will let you use a car, or, take a walk, run.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a beauty in being so broken. And then when you're finally in a good place, I feel like taking risks and really walking in purpose is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the problems that you think are big are not even that big. Like, I remember I used to think, because my mom was an excess worrier, I used to think if you don't pay your rent on time, they kick you out the next day. So imagine me growing up like that. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess you guys don't understand. Like, life is hard. Like, if I don't get this money, like, I am losing everything.
Right.
And they're towing my car away because I was late one day.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's not how it works.
Right. In fact, is squatters' rights. You can literally live for free for months. Yeah.
I'm like, I need to follow those guys.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What do you guys know? I don't know. You can do this for 9 months. Like, whoa. But that's why not knowing things can cause us to not go for things.
Yeah.
And the more you expose yourself to people that you want to be like, that is like your coach, come in my car.
Yeah.
When you get to expose those things, you see how things really are. It opens up your mind to the possibilities. And then my final question for you is, somebody right now is suffering, feeling hopeless in their addiction, in their journey of wanting to, take that risk to have more out of life. Yeah. You have 1 minute with them. Yeah. What would you say to them? They're right here with you right now, and you're the only person they have to talk to.
Yeah. I would say there is hope and there is a solution. And this could be the last day that you feel like this ever. Like, today could be day one or one day. But you have to do the work. God will move the mountain, but he's going to give you the shovel, and you got to meet him halfway. And even the fact that you're here and you're ready to make a change with your life tells me that you're wanting something bigger and something different, and that you're built for more than what you're in right now. And that if it can happen to me, it can happen to you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Again, Kat, I just appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing. Like I said, I'm going to bring you on for more.
I would love to.
Because I got so many more questions I want to ask, and I'm like, I can't keep on going.
Our cameras keep shutting off.
I know. Tell the enemy every time you get pulled over that one time for your tit.
Right.
There's traffic.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But we'll do another episode when we talk about that for sure. And where can people reach you at if they want to find you?
So actually, as of yesterday, I'm Sober Cat.
I saw that.
Yeah. On Instagram. So SOBERKATT. And that's my Instagram. I can send you, I'm building a website right now. So it's going to be up very soon. But I would say Instagram is the easiest way. Also Facebook, Katherine Sorensen. And then Laguna Shores Behavioral Health is our Laguna Shores Recovery.com is our website for our treatment centers.
And you guys do mental health?
We also have mental health. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So 2 substance abuse dual diagnosis facilities, and then 1 full facility dedicated only to and primarily to mental health. So anxiety, depression. Insurance pays just like they pay for rehab now for mental health stays. And then actually they're far more lenient on time in a facility. 10, 15 years ago, they would have said no more, but yeah.
So Kat, again, just, thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being in my life and in so many people's lives. You really are a very unique individual. So never stop being yourself. Just become more of you.
Thank you.
Keep on giving. Keep on doing what you do with having these treatment centers that truly help people with good staff guys. They're really good people. I'm just gonna let you know that. I used to work there. Literally the best experience I've ever had.
Thank you.
And with the free community, change too. But people can find you and through Instagram, and now you're Sober Cat, which I love.
Yeah.
again, just thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Pleasure, always.